Welcome to Lesson 80B, Polynomials. Our objective is I can identify the degree and terms of polynomials. So, what is a term? A term is a constant or the product of a constant and one or more variables. So, for instance, here is one term. It's one piece of a polynomial. So, we've worked with terms before where we've had some number times some or one or more variables to some sort of exponent. So that is the pieces of a term. So this would be one term, and then we could always add, 3xy or something to this, and they would both be separate terms. So this would have two terms. A polynomial is a monomial or two or more monomials combined by addition or subtraction. So here's some examples. Polynomials are just a bunch of terms, one or more terms, stuck together with addition or subtraction signs. So 14 is a polynomial, b plus 1 is a polynomial, 4x to the fourth plus x to the third plus 8x squared minus 9x plus 1 is also a polynomial. These are all polynomials. When we name polynomials, here are the names that we care about. A monomial is a polynomial with one term. A binomial has two terms. A trinomial has three terms. So here we'll go each of them. A monomial has one term, like 14, or negative 9x to the third y to the fifth, or 8y to the third. They all have one term in them, so they're all monomials. Binomials have two terms, a plus 7, 4b minus 5, 3x to the third minus 9x squared. Right? Each of these have two pieces to them. They have one term and another term. Trinomials have three terms. Okay? So x squared minus 7x plus 12, that's one polynomial with three separate terms in it. So what we're going to try to do is determine whether each polynomial is a monomial, binomial, trinomial, or some other polynomial. So let's take a look at it. For letter A, 1, 2, 3 things, that's a trinomial. Letter B, 1, 2 things, two terms, that's a binomial. Letter C has just one term, so that's a monomial. And letter D has one term, so that's also a monomial. Go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. Now that you've tried this on your own, let's do it together. So, this first one, letter A, has four terms in it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Since it has four terms, it's not a monomial, right? It's not a binomial. It's not a trinomial. So it must be some other polynomial. Letter B has one term in it, so it's a monomial. Letter C has two terms in it, so it must be a binomial. Letter D has 1, 2, 3 terms. That means it must be a trinomial. Next, we want to talk about the degree. The degree of a term is the sum of the exponents of its variables. The degree of a constant is 0 since there's no variables. The degree of a polynomial is the highest degree of all its terms. So let's take a look at some monomials, and we'll look at the degree of each monomial. For this first one, 14, there's no variables, so the degree is 0. For this next one, 8y squared, it has variable with a degree of 2, so its degree is 2. This one has two variables in it, negative 9x squared y to the 6th has two variables in it. It has a variable of 2 for one of the variables and 6 for the other one. And 2 plus 6 makes 8. So this term has a degree of 8. Next, negative 13a. Negative 13a has one variable, a, and this a is to the first power. It's a hidden power, but it still has a power of 1. So this term has a degree of 1. Let's take a look at some binomials. Remember, each term has its own degree. So for instance, a plus 7, a has a degree of 1, 7 has a degree of 0. The biggest degree is the degree of that whole binomial. So the biggest degree is 1, so the total degree is 1. We can take a look at each of these here. I have 8b squared minus 5b. 8b squared has a degree of 2, and negative 5b has a degree of 1. So the bigger one of 2 or 1 is 2, which means the total degree of the polynomial is 2. Now we can do the same thing with trinomials. And once again, we can find the degree of each term, and then we can find the degree of each of the total polynomials. So let's try this. Find the degree of the following polynomials. For letter A, I have a negative 15b. This has a hidden 1, so it has a degree of 1. For letter B, I have negative 10z to the 4th, so that has a degree of 4. I have negative 4z squared, so that term has a degree of 2. And I have negative 5 with no variables, so that one has a degree of 0. The biggest one of those, 4, 2, and 0, is 4. So that trinomial has a degree of 4. Letter C. This first one has two variables, this first term, but it has a degree of 9, because 5 plus 4 is 9. This next term has a degree of 12, and this last term has a degree of 0. So the biggest out of 9 and 12 is 12. So this trinomial has a degree of 12. Letter D. Letter D. I have a degree of 3 and a degree of 1. Biggest one out of those is 3. Letter E. I have a degree of 0 because there's no variables. Go ahead and pause the video and try these on your own, and then I'll see you in part C of this series. Now that you've done it on your own, let's do it together. For letter A, I have no variables, so it has a degree of 0. For letter B, I have 1, degree of 1, degree of 1, degree of 1. That means that the whole trinomial has a degree of 1. Letter C, I have a degree of 5 and a degree of 4, which means total we have 5. Next one, degree of 2, degree of 1, degree of 0, which means overall I have a degree of 2. For the last one, I have a degree of 3. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part C.